Sky Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of World Bigfoot Radio. And I'm happy to say that I got a guest with me today that I've been trying to track down for about a year. He's got a lot of background with Bigfoot, has done a bunch of research on him, and has some really interesting stuff to talk about. And this is his first time on the show. So everybody, please keep your ears open and your eyes open, because there's going to be pictures and video and stuff on these episodes with him too. And welcome to World Bigfoot Radio, Leo Frank.
If they're standing still, you're not gonna, you're not gonna see them. It's that simple. Especially if you're walking straight and they're off to the side and they don't move, you're not gonna see them. All they have to do is stand still. They don't need to disappear.
And part of that is your brain pattern recognition. You're not used to looking for something that's Bigfoot shaped that's like 9 or 10 feet tall.
No.
So your brain doesn't key in on it right away and go, oh, that's a Bigfoot.
Of course not.
And then the other thing is that they make it even more difficult, because generally they're not going to stand out there silently, not moving, in silhouette, so you can actually see the whole outline of them. And even if your brain would pick up that pattern, you're still not going to see the whole outline, because they're not going to do that. They're going to be crouched down. They're going to be partially hidden behind a tree or a bush. They're going to be just a head peeking around the corner of a tree. So, what's the chance that you're ever going to notice that if it doesn't move? Just about nothing.
Zero chance of ever noticing it, of one just standing still. Your brain is not going to accept it or even call your attention to it. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, even if you know what to look for, even if you know that they're there and what to look for, and you're looking for them, you're still probably not going to see one, because they're just that good at hiding. And for the random guy wandering through the woods on the way to his deer stand, there's zero chance you're going to see one. Unless it's moving, you're just not going to see it. No, you're not. So all that having been said, why don't they both say Bigfoot more often? They're not looking for him, and they're really good at hiding. There's your two answers. And you experienced this. So now you saw Littlefoot like a few months later. How little was he when you saw him the first time?
3 feet. 3 feet or a little more.
Wow, so really little.
He was very small. And I think part of the reason why, when I finally did see the mother, I think the extra weight that she had on her, I think was probably still birth weight that she had still had left on her from giving birth. So I don't know how old he was or anything. He was born before I got there, but he was only about 3 feet. He was still waddling. He was a lot more steady on his feet than what a human baby would be, but he wasn't. He was a waddler. He didn't quite have his legs yet, so to speak.
I don't know how many times you actually got to see him or see him move around or anything, but one thing that got my attention was some of the reports of the really little ones actually going four-wheel drive a lot of the time, using their going four-legged quadruped instead of biped. Mm-hmm. Like they had, just like human babies, crawl until they figure out how to walk. And for them, sometimes it seems like that period lasts a lot longer, because they can bolt so damn fast on all fours that it's like, oh, why bother going up on all twos?
Well, I think the reason why I didn't see that so much, I believe that I've seen it with his older brother, but as far as him, the reason why I didn't see that, I believe, was because of where I would often see them. It would be at the edge of the clearing, and he would go up to the gifting station and climb the tree, grab what he wanted, toss what he wanted down onto the ground, get back down, pick it up, take it back to his father. So
you did see him walking on two legs every time you saw him then?
Yeah.
Cool.
But,
how long of a time period did you get to observe this family?
It was in 2007, and I left in 2014, or 2013, so 2013, I think. So, late 2013.
Again, this is interesting, because people get long-term observation of a family unit where they can actually figure out which one is which and how many there are and whatnot. Like in the case of the Glag Saga, where Kevin was hanging out with us, Sasquatch, for 5 years. He got to make some real good detailed observations about how fast it was growing and how big it was. And I'm sort of curious about this. You got to see him for like over a 7-year period. if you got to see Littlefoot enough to make any kind of guesses about how fast he was growing and how big he was the last time you saw him.
The last time I saw him, he was on his way to 6 foot. He was well over 5 feet tall. He was actually, when he was born with the white spot on his head,
Mm-hmm.
and but as he grew, the white spot went away. Now I have no idea why, what it was, or whatever. But he had a white patch of hair on his head, but he grew out of that. His nose was very underdeveloped when I first got there, but eventually he grew the full nose. I don't know why the nose was underdeveloped. If that's like a really common thing or uncommon, I don't know. But
yeah, we were talking about this before we started recording, and actually I've heard that from other people before too. That when they're littler, they have the nose looks more like a chimp, and it doesn't have that much of a hood on it, and gets bigger as they get older.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened with him.
Interesting. So he doubled in height during the time period that you were observing that little troop of Bigfoot then.
Yep.
Wonder how old. It'd be interesting if we could know exactly how long it takes him to get to 3 feet tall, so you could start estimating how long it takes him to get up from a baby to biggie size.
It would have been just seeing him alone was well, when I figured at the time was enough for me. But no, I mean to be there and to see a newborn being lugged around and stuff like that, that would have completely blown my mind.
Yeah.
Worse.
Do you figure the first time you seen him that he was like maybe a year old, or do you think he was older than that?
Like I said, with the weight that the mother still had on her, I don't think he was that old.
So he was really little. Because now when Kevin first met Glag was about 6.5 feet and about 350.
Mm-hmm.
So he had like maybe a year more growth on him than it sounds like Littlefoot had the last time we saw him.
Mm-hmm.
And we were guesstimating that Glag would have been maybe around 8 years old when Kevin ran into him, and it sounds like we pretty much nailed that one. If we're using this one as an example, and that's an average rate of growth.
But for me to say, I really couldn't. I wouldn't say because I just plain don't know.
Yeah, well, we don't know, but this is the fun of it. We're all getting information. We're trying to figure out what we can figure out based on the information that we've got. And when pieces of information fall in line with each other, it's more exciting because it's like, ooh, this might actually be a pattern. We might be onto something here.
It is, and that was the thing when I first started to find, other people that were interacting and stuff like that. I was excited because I was thinking, okay, well, this, maybe I don't have to keep quiet about this anymore. But it went from what was happening with me to these, to me at the time, very outlandish. They're my best buddy. They're, and all that. And I'm like, why is that not happening here? If that's the case,
Yeah.
they see me often enough. So why is that not happening here? Again, I'm not saying it didn't happen to them. Just saying it didn't happen to me.
Yeah. No, I totally understand that because I hear about these kind of encounters where they're, shy and retiring and gentle, and it's like really nice to hear those encounters. And the first couple I had weren't so nice. The third one I had, all he did was glare at me, so that was like a step up. But it's really it's nice to hear that people can actually have these long-term interactions with them, and nobody ends up getting hurt or anything. So that's encouraging. Again, this tends to point away from the horrifying monsters running around the woods eating people, stereotype that they've been pegged with way too much.
That's true.
So after you saw Littlefoot the first time and he started coming up and grabbing apples and whatnot, when was it that you got to see the whole family down by the river?
The first time that I saw them all together, they were all on the opposite side of the river. But and then again, that was only a few months. It seemed like once the ice was broken, as far as Littlefoot went, and I mean, because what Wyatt would do, he'd come out as far as the tree line, and he'd watch Littlefoot, then me, then Littlefoot, then me. So, and it seemed like once the ice was broken there, it was only a matter of months before I get to see them all together. But I mean, that turned out to be one of the scariest situations I ever got in, though, was when they were all together. See, Littlefoot's older brother, he looked basically like a hair-covered boy, and he was there and then not there. I nicknamed him Flash because I would just get little glimpses here and there. And like you said about the knuckle walking, not that I'm sure he did, because of the way that I would see nothing and then all of a sudden down on all fours and then gone. He wasn't one that wanted to be around a whole lot. He was thin too, but he wasn't one that wanted to be around a whole lot, apparently. Now I don't know. I don't know if it's a common thing among them, but with these ones, it seemed like Wyatt was the one that seemed to have more responsibility as far as with Littlefoot. I mean, he seemed to be with him all the time. He was never around his mother often. It was usually with his father, which I suppose makes sense, because he would be the one to train him the ways of the woods and that. But it's just it was hard for me to understand, because as humans, we at that age, you think you're going to be with the mother, but it wasn't the case with them. He was with the father a lot.
I just think it's interesting that Wyatt would actually let him run over to the station and grab the food, and just watch and let him do it.
I don't think that would even happen if I wasn't positioned where I was positioned, because there would be at least a few hundred yards between me being able to get anywhere near Littlefoot, but it would be closer for Wyatt to get to me. And you take into account his size, his speed.
You get to you real fast, yeah.
He knew that there was no chance that I could do anything. So, other than that, I'm sure he would have been. He wouldn't have been that, open to the idea, so to speak.
Yeah, you're really lucky, because generally they won't let anybody see any of the little munchkins or anything. That's they keep them with mom hidden away somewhere so you don't run into them. But again, according to Cat, it varies on their gender too. Apparently, the female squatches hang around with the female squatches, and the male squatches hang around with the male squatches, because they need to learn what it is that they do, which is apparently different for the two genders. So.
And again, that's where I can, when I say something, I'm not saying that they all do this or they don't all do that. I'm only going by the ones that I've seen, and that's exactly the way it was. He was almost, I would say, 90% of the time when I was able to see them with his father.
Mm-hmm. Figuring out how to be a big Bigfoot. Got to learn from Dad. He's the best example.
Yep.
Right on. Wow. So you had 7 years with these guys, and now when you were down at the river, let's let everybody hear that encounter, because that was pretty gripping, man.
Now, are we talking the phone, or are we talking the when she came across the river?
Yeah, let's talk about when you were trying to take a picture and she came across the river.
Well, what happened was Wyatt brought Littlefoot up. Littlefoot goes up. He grabs his pears. He's coming down the mountain. Wyatt starts walking down along the tree line. Littlefoot goes down. He plants his rear end down on the grass and starts munching. Now, I'm thinking, okay, everybody's far enough away, I can get my damn picture. So, I bring out the cell phone, nice and slow, and I have it, I'm looking through the cell phone and trying to get this picture, which I did in the end get, and you've seen it, but what happened was, on my way down the hill, I stumbled, and the minute that I stumbled, that's when Wyatt yelled out that word, which sounded like Mylika, and that's how I ended up calling the the mother, Miley, because I just shortened it because I'm that smart. Anyway, it was. I can laugh about it now, but I wasn't laughing at the time. When I tried, I did get the picture, and I got probably one of the worst scares of my life, because the minute that Wyatt yelled that name, she came running across, and I was not used to seeing her run, but she came running across the river, which would have been slightly below her breastbone, I would say. But she came barreling across the river and grabbed Littlefoot by one arm and got him up over her back, and they were out of there. All four of them were gone. So, yeah, that was a scary situation, because up until that point, I had heard them talk from a distance. I had heard Littlefoot mock me, but as far as yelling back and forth to each other, I thought I was done for, just from that stumble. What spooked them was I stumbled, and so yeah, it was not a good situation when you basically have an overweight Patty coming at you across the river. It's a hell of a frightening situation.
Oh God, I bet.
And I literally did. I fell flat back on my ass, and then from there, once everything quieted down, right back onto my back. And all I could do was sit there and listen to my heartbeat for a while, because that was
just kept beating.
Way too close for comfort.
Oh, thank God. Well, how close did you get to you then?
Oh, I mean, I was still a reasonable distance, but I mean, she was moving and large, so
yeah.
No, it was a few hundred feet, but
yeah.
But
it's
still,
like that shock. Oh my God, it's coming toward me.
Oh yeah, I thought there was no cloudiness and no time slowing down at that time. It was, everything happened so damn fast that I thought, I'm dead. I got too close. I'm dead.
Oh wow. Yeah,
but thankfully, that's not what happened.
I know you're comparing Miley to Patty. Is she about like the same size Patty was? Because they figured like Patty was like 7'3", 7'4", or something like that.
If I could, I'm not going to go on a whole rant about what I think about Patty, the story, and the whole thing, but I hadn't seen and have not seen another one yet that looked like Patty. Yeah, and I mean, but it came right down to, she looked almost exactly like Patty, but the big difference was the weight on her sides. She had rolls on her sides.
So she was actually fatter than Patty.
Oh yeah, she was a lot more overweight than Patty, to the point of almost looking out of shape until I seen her run. She didn't look too out of shape when she ran.
But she was running. Oh my God! But that was a shocker too.
But yeah, it was Patty, but overweight, basically.
Do you think she was about the same height as Patty, or do you think she was a little bit bigger or shorter, or any idea?
Well, I mean, the debate on Patty's height, I don't know what the general consensus is anymore.
They pretty much got that worked out after Bill Munn's comparative footage and stuff. They're figuring her around between 7'2" and 7'4", basically.
Well, then, yeah, but very close. Very close.
Again, interestingly, you don't hear reports of anybody seeing female Bigfoots very often to start with, and when they do see them, you never hear about them seeing gigantic ones. They always, they seem to be in that 7-foot range somewhere when you do.
Mid-range, yeah.
Yeah. So apparently the males are the ones that get ginormously huge, and possibly the females just don't get that big, and that would be typical of comparing to humans too, because in general human males get quite a bit bigger than human females do. Mm-hmm. So it would make sense actually.
But the first time seeing her, it took me back to my first sighting, where it looked absolutely nothing like Patty at all.
Yeah.
But yet here I am, and I've got this female in front of me that looks damn near identical, except being overweight.
And she's charging you. She's not walking away, looking over her shoulder. She's running toward you.
Yeah, well, I mean, and before that, the closest that I got to her was being on the other side of the river, and watching them over there. But there hadn't been, as far as interaction, the most interaction was always with Wyatt and Littlefoot.
Right.
But yeah, when you have something like that come barreling across, and I don't know if she's coming at me, and I mean the word that he said, I don't know if that's her name or not, or if it's a word that meant get the kid and get the hell out of here. I don't know. But I mean, that's basically what I decided it was going to be her name, so I started naming her that. So.
Yeah, when she's charging across the river, you don't know if she's going to grab Littlefoot or if she's going to continue past him and swat you.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know what he told her to do. I don't know if that was her name, what he told her to do, or what. And at the time, I didn't care. All I knew is I've got this black giant come barreling at me, and I'm going to die.
Oh, jeez. God.
Well, I mean, with Young there, especially, and I knew it instantly. As soon as he said that word, I knew I was in trouble because, there's Young there, and that's, like I said earlier, you just don't do that. And it was just a simple mistake of stumbling. I don't think it was the camera at all. I don't think it was the cell phone at all. I think it was, I was walking at a steady pace down the hill, and all of a sudden I made a sudden movement, and that's where I screwed up, was when I stumbled.
Yeah, and that makes total sense to me because even, if you're dealing with wild animals that you habituated to the food station or something, they're used to seeing you move around. If you did something like that and stumbled, they would have the same reaction. They'd panic. Because it's just out of the ordinary. They don't know what you're doing. You're doing something different. All of a sudden, they're scared again.
And I mean, I say it wasn't the phone or anything like that I had in my hand, but I was always very careful about that kind of thing because, I mean, how many times have they seen someone in the woods and they pull out something in their hand, and then a deer drops dead a few hundred yards away, right? So, I mean, they know. People say, well, how would they know? They're, because they watch it all the time.
Yeah, they're in the woods every fall when we're out there hunting. Guess what they're doing? I mean, hey, if that hunter shoots that buck and leaves that yummy gut pile right there, I can eat that. Yummy. And if he shoots the buck and it runs away and he doesn't figure out where it went, I get the whole deer. Yummy.
It goes boom and that deer dies. So they know what a gun is, and they know that. And people say, well, why can't you get clear pictures, and why can't you do this, and why can't you do that? Because it's just the opportunity is just not there a lot of the time.
Yeah. Well, they're so damn elusive, and they make sure that they're under cover all the time. They even do it at night. They have people looking at them with FLIR and stuff, and they're still hiding behind trees. It's pitch black. You can't see your hand in front of your face. They don't know that. They apparently think we can see in the dark. We can't. Don't tell them that, guys, by the way. And then the other thing, as far as being able to tell what a gun is, we have that problem with the mountain lions and the grizzlies out here in Montana, where nowadays if you walk into the woods with a rifle, they'll follow you because they know you're hunting. And they think they're either going to get what it is that you shoot before you get it, or they're at least going to get the yummy gut pile that you're going to leave behind. Either way, there's a meal. So they're going to follow you.
Know that there's a chance they're getting takeout, and they ain't going to have to work for it.
That's it. It's free food. All they have to do is follow you, and at least they're going to get a gut pile. Maybe they'll get the whole kill. All they got to do is follow you. That's a free meal. And that's, and think about that. 50 years ago, if a mountain lion or grizzly saw you with a gun, they would run the other way as fast as they could because they knew you'd shoot their ass. And nowadays, they're protected, and they see humans walking around with a gun. They follow you because they know if you got a gun, you're hunting something they want to eat, and they want part of it. Well, if they're smart enough to figure that out, how in God's name could Bigfoot not be smart enough to figure it out?
Like I said, that's the thing. They watch it happen all the time. How could they not?
Yeah, exactly. And they're a lot more curious about us than these other predators are. Those other predators are, believe you me, when a human walks in the woods with a gun, their first reaction isn't, how cool, I want to go see what he's up to. It's like, oh, God, human with a gun, I'm out of here. So it takes a lot of, indirect observation for them to get to the point where it's like, hey, if I follow these yo-yos with the guns around, I'll get a free yummy gut pile. This is almost worth the danger. I just stay back far enough that they don't see me. So that takes a lot of thought process and a lot of observation. And they're avoiding us. Bigfoot are more curious. They'll follow us around and watch us anyway, even knowing we have a gun.
They will, and I've taken 2 family members in there. One was a mistake. The other one went just fine. But the thing was is that he, and I'm sure it was Wyatt because I could tell by the footsteps that it was Wyatt. But we saw tracks on the way in, and I think those tracks were left where they were on purpose. But we saw tracks on the way in, and then we had him going from left to right behind us. But every damn time we would stop to turn around and try and get a look, no, sir, it was not going to happen. It only happened when, after we stopped looking and we were on our way out, we got a glimpse of him walking away. And then I said to him, I said, now you believe me? He said, I believed you as soon as I saw that damn track.
Yeah, that was sort of the turning point for my buddy Jeff that goes out and does some of the Squatch research with me. He thought there was a chance they could be real. I mean, he grew up in Montana, so, you hear the stories and stuff. I took him out there, and after he found his first track, and he was just so stunned by it, he couldn't believe it was real. And, is that a Bigfoot track? It's 13 inches long. Yeah, that's a Bigfoot track. Really? And we're like wanting to walk along a little bit further and look at more. He's still standing there staring at the track. Well, in the second one that he found, I think it was like 17 inches or something, had really great toe prints on it and stuff, really obvious. And again, he took a bunch of pictures, and he stood there and studied it for a while. And after that, it was like he was completely convinced, because it's like, you know what, imaginary things don't friggin' leave tracks. When you're finding tracks in the woods out in the middle of nowhere where there aren't any humans walking around barefoot with 18-inch feet, you can be reasonably assured that a real creature left those tracks. And so, yeah, for for quite a few people, that's sort of the turning point. And I guess that was it for Dr. Meldrum, too. He found some tracks out in the woods and just went, well, there's no hoaxer running around here with fake feet out in the middle of nowhere where nobody's ever going to see these damn tracks anywhere. Something made these,
Well, that's the thing. When it comes to hoaxers and stuff like that, you're not going to hoax in the middle of nowhere.
No, you're going to hoax where people are going to find it. That's the fun, because you want to pull one over on them. You don't go do a hoax in the middle of nowhere where they're never going to see it.
Well, no, because generally hoaxers are lazy asses anyway, so they're not going to bother to do that, even if there are 1 or 2 people that are going through there. They're going to go where they're going to get the attention.
Yep, that's it. That's it exactly. And there's a lot less of that going on than some people think. They're like, everything that's Bigfoot related is a hoax. Well, where is this army of hoaxers that are running around doing this? Because there has to be a lot of them, and they're getting paid a really big salary. And I want to know who the billionaire that's bankrolling this whole hoax is.
Yeah, well, I'd really like to know what they're doing for a living to be able to pull off some of the things that people will just automatically say, well, wait a minute, it's too blurry or it's too clear, so it's a hoax.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to know these people's budget to pull this stuff off.
Well, I want to know what their thinking is, So let's assume that everybody's lying. If even one person actually saw Bigfoot and is telling the truth, then there is such a thing as Bigfoot. So you really can't think that way. You have to think they're all being hoaxed, because they can't all be wrong about what they saw. So the only other option is they're all being hoaxed. So how is this grand and glorious hoax being pulled off worldwide? I mean, is it like when the NBA is out of season, they're all contractually obligated to wear Bigfoot suits and run around the woods, so we have Bigfoot sightings, and then it's all part of a secret society. You can't be an NBA player unless you wear a Bigfoot suit and run around the woods for a few months a year. I mean, the more you start thinking about what is the option to this being a real creature, the more absurd and stupid all these options start seeming.
It's people that want to be spoon-fed the money shot, which is not... And even that isn't going to do. It's not going to do it for some. They want to be spoon-fed information. They want to be spoon-fed that one money shot, so they can, they'll tear that to pieces too. But
for sure,
they want.
I think for a lot of it's just too much of a paradigm shift. It'll screw up their perspective on the world so much that they'll resist at any cost to believe that such a thing could be real. It
interrupts your everyday life so much too much that it's just easier to say nope.
Yeah,
I'm going to dismiss it, and I'm going to run around screaming at the top of my lungs that it's not real. Okay, buddy, you go ahead and you do that. Meanwhile, there are people out there that consider themselves extremely fortunate that they've had, these things happen to them. But if you want to take your time and just keep screaming that no, it can't be, well, power to you. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
You'll learn a lot that way.
And then there's those of us that actually know it is real and that are going to continue to find out more about it and learn more things about Bigfoot, and we don't care what you guys think. Go back in your barrel, go crawl back into your barrel, put the lid back on again, suck your thumb.
And that's the thing that I really had to get over that in when I started with the online thing. I really had to get over that. That was one of the hardest things for me. Everything, when you have so many skeptics and so many haters and everything coming at you left, right, and center, that everything is just wrong. What you're saying is a lie and all that. And how can I make these people believe? I don't need to do that. I realized years ago I don't need to do that. If I have something that I feel is good enough to share, then I'll do it. But what you take from it or what you leave from it, that's not on me. That's on you. I'm good either way.
Yeah. I know. I had somebody, one of my early videos, posted a comment on there. Okay, so convince me that Bigfoot is real. Well, I posted back, why? And he said, because you're trying to prove Bigfoot is real. And I said, no, I'm not. I already know Bigfoot's real. I'm gathering information on it.
Yeah, and with me, it was I need to prove it to myself that first sighting was not just, the only person I needed to prove it to was me. And like I say, with any of my stuff, if I do release it, it's in very small groups, or I keep a very low profile. And I mean, take from it what you want and leave the rest. It's done. It's a done deal for me. If it's something that helps and can compare to somebody else's notes and helps them, say, wait, this is kind of what happened to me, or that's what this one kind of looked like, or whatever, that helps. That's wonderful. But this prove it to me stuff, no. I proved it to me. That's what my goal was to prove it to me, and then after that, share it with other people and see what they have to say.
Yep.
But I'm not out to prove it to anybody.
And the fun part is when you actually share some of the information with somebody that also knows stuff about Bigfoot, and then you start coming up with interesting correlations between the data that each one of you have gathered.
Oh, it is. It's a breath of fresh air, because there's so much trash that you have to go through, and all the nonsense and all that when you do find somebody else that when those similarities are there, it's exciting. It's the excitement comes back again. Yep.
Yeah, and the other thing is that's especially for guys like yourself that I run into not as often as I'd like to. It's really fun to actually get to meet you and talk to you, because it's so obvious to me that you know what you're talking about. Everything that you talk about totally matches up with what I already know. And, it's guys like you that come up with stuff that I don't already know. And if we keep sharing information like that with each other, then, we each get little pieces of the puzzle that we weren't aware of that would take 20 lifetimes for one person to be able to gather all that info. That's how you move the ball down the field and make forward progress.
Absolutely. It's sadly, it's not as common as I would like to see it, but we all know how the Bigfoot world works, so it's either you suck it up and move forward with your own thing and share with the right ones and just kind of dismiss the rest of the drama and all that. And I mean, like I said, it brings every time that there's somebody else that says, well, really, I saw this, but it was slightly different. I mean, the excitement comes back again. And I don't know how many times I've walked away because of, I never stopped my own thing. But as far as the online stuff, I don't know how many times I've walked away. I just got sick of it all.
Who can blame you? I get sick of it too, and I have to deal with it every day. If it wasn't for the good people online, I would have gave up a long time ago. And there's a lot of good people online, and thank you, and God bless you all for actually helping and supporting people like me and Leo. what we're trying to do here.
Indeed.
And
Thank
you know, how did you end up with? I know you're sort of like not active as far as what I gather anyway, being around this family group anymore. Did you move away from the area, or what happened with that?
Well, what happened was I was starting to get the reports from down here that there was something going on a family member's friend's property. So I was coming down here doing 3-week visits at a time, and at the same time that this was going on, like I said, it can interrupt your personal life, and it did. The girlfriend and I split up, and I ended up moving down here, and by that time I was already well on my way into the investigation down here on the private property. So, but yeah, I mean, a big part of it was my research is what screwed that up, and I own that. But what do you do when you've got you're trying to study a civilization that isn't supposed to be there? I mean, I took it too far, and I own that. But
well, again, it's one of those things that I hear over and over again. This is very common. It's rough on the relationships too.
It is. It's very rough. But and I later on I ended up marrying someone that was very much into the whole Bigfoot scene, and that one didn't last. As of today, I just found out that we finally agreed on the divorce. So after 5 years, but I mean it's all good. We've managed to stay friends and everything like that. But basically, what happened in New Brunswick was the girlfriend and I split up. I ended up moving back down here and was right in the middle of an investigation before I even moved. So all was well.
You moved toward the investigation, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. I was already knee deep in it, so let's just make it a permanent.
Well, I'm going to be investigating all this time anyway. Might as well live near.
But the thing is, I mean, they're only to go back up there. It's only 6 to 9 hours away for a road trip. So I keep putting it off and putting it off. The next
you could still go up there and visit Wyatt and Clan for a weekend or something if you wanted to.
I can only assume from the other person that I took in fairly often. Apparently, they're doing just fine. I don't have a lot of details, but apparently they're doing just fine. So, but that's hearsay. But I will eventually get back up there. But right now, the next road trip that I've got is to the area of my first sighting, and that's coming up here in a couple of weeks. So, fingers crossed. Well, I mean, we're gonna basically recreate the whole thing. I'm gonna go where he was, and she's gonna film me where exactly how he turned around in the movement and everything like that. And I'm basically gonna walk the whole area, and she's gonna film me while I do it, and that'll give people a better perspective on just how everything went down that day.
Nice. Yeah, I really like it when that happens. You know, that's one thing. Kelly Shaw did that not too long ago. He got somebody that usually Kelly just goes to where they have a sighting and he films the scenery while he tells what the sighting was. And they actually got the guy that had the sighting to go back to the spot where he had the sighting and explain everything. And that was so cool. And you could tell the guy, it had been like months since he had been there, the first time he'd been back there. And he was still shook up just being there with a bunch of people around him explaining what he saw and where it was and everything. You could just tell by the expression and the way he was talking. And it was so riveting, you know, and that's just so cool when you can do that.
And no doubt, I mean, I've been back there, and whether it's really happening or it's not, you feel like you're being watched and everything just because of what happened that day. But, that's something that I've always wanted to do, is go back and recreate the whole thing, and because it's one that I get asked about. I get asked about that one more than Carl, and I get asked about that one more than Littlefoot and his family for some reason, whatever reason. But so I'm gonna go back and basically recreate the whole thing.
Right on, brother. Well, I got to let everybody know that you're going to be back for the next episode because we're going to be talking about your next investigation that you did when you changed places and moved down there. And Carl, and I'm super psyched to talk about that one. So
yes, you are. That's for sure.
Yeah, I've been tracking you down for a year to talk about this one. I'm super psyched to talk about it. And I'm going to give this one away, folks. It's going to be huge. Make sure you tune in for it. And did you have anything else you wanted to add before we close out the show today, brother?
I do. There's somebody that I have to thank because she has, every time I've left, she has brought me back in. She has been my backbone. She's my best friend, Nancy Marietta. She's basically taken over my group from me while I'm out in the field. Every time something that happens that freaks me out or I get pissed off and say, you know what, to hell with this, I'm just going to go do my own thing and not saying a word, she's the one that kind of smacks me upside the head and brings me back in. She's absolutely wonderful. She's my backbone, and I love her very much, and thank you, Nancy, for everything. So I did have to get that out of the way.
All right, an official World Bigfoot Radio salute to Nancy Marietta. Salute! There you go.
And that's that.
And yes, she rocks. All right, brother. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I know you're going to really like the next one, so don't miss it again. I'm teasing you, but for a reason. And thanks again for coming on the show, Leo. Super appreciate it, man. It's been hell trying to get hold of you and get this all lined up, and I'm just so happy that we finally managed to do it. And, in the future, as more things occur, as you get more of your research done and stuff, you got to make sure to keep us updated. And even on, other reports that are coming in from that part of the country, because we really don't have anybody on the team that's over there right now, unless you want to be on the team and be the guy there. And that would be wonderful, because I really appreciate that, because the local people hear more about, the local scuttlebutt than somebody on the other side of the continent will. And because of that, they can, they have the access to it that we otherwise wouldn't, and have the capability to actually let other people know what's happening in different parts of the country and keep everybody up to date on the latest sightings and occurrences and yada, yada, yada. So if you're interested
Absolutely.
in that, I would love to have you on board, Leo.
Actually, yeah, it would be great. I mean, it's hard to find the right people to share with and everything, so I appreciate you having me on very much, and we will do this again.
All righty. Well, until that time, which will be soon. Ooh, next episode. Thanks again for being on the show, Leo, and everybody out there that's listening. Be kind to each other. Be nice to other people. Always take it carefully. Safety first, last, and always. And no matter what you do, God help you. Do not hug the Wookiee.